Nigerian embassies and consulates abroad are in a sorry and unpalatable state. Well, that's according to a report by the National Association of Sea Dogs. Lack of funds, corruption, and recruitment of unqualified staff were some of the factors responsible for the state of Nigerian embassies abroad. Well, the report recommends the establishment of a special trust fund for acquisition, equipment, and maintenance of Nigerian embassies and consulates. It also called on the Foreign Affairs Ministry to develop an employment policy that targets more Nigerians already living in the receiving countries.
That we have announced today includes things that we identified, which are the challenges, which is funding. Now, we noticed that about 64% of budget allocation was reduced by the allocations given to foreign embassies and so on. And we feel that we need to boost that up, and this is part of our recommendation as well, to allow more funding to be given out to the embassies so they can pay their staff and also improve on the infrastructure.
As a way of improving communication, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should create effective information technology system capable of supporting automated feedback on embassy and consulate websites, social media handles, and telephone lines.
Well, joining us from his base in Atlanta, the United States, to take a look at this study is S.A. Folami. Folami is the coordinator of research for the National Association of Sea Dogs. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight. Well, first of all, help us understand exactly why it became necessary for you to come out with this report. And yes, we did reel out some of the findings, but tell us more about how bad it really is with Nigeria's embassies abroad.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, it is. The issue of Nigerian embassies has constantly been a source of concern to Nigerians living abroad. So the diaspora, so to speak, Nigerians at home, as well as friends of Nigeria who constantly are most times embarrassed by the services they get from the Nigerian embassies and consulates. So our survey in the first instance was designed to ascertain the experience or experiences, I should say, and perceptions of Nigerians and non-Nigerians in and at these consulates and embassies. And in doing that, we went through a survey process that was thrown to the public, and then we covered embassies and consulates where we have chapters across all the continents.
Well, at the end of the day, Essay, it's a good thing that you're not just seeking out the problems, you're also preferring solutions. But I want to stay a little bit with the problems. Top of the list of what was actually identified from this your report is the lack of funding to be the #1 issue with our embassies abroad. What would you say is the reason responsible for this? Is it lack of adequate budgetary provisions, or is it the fact that our embassies, like some might even suggest, are too many, where in some instances, for some countries, we might not even need an ambassador or an embassy, but instead looking in the direction of a charge d'affaires?
Thank you very much. It is a culmination of different or a number of issues. And primarily, if you really look at it, when we look at professionalism and incompetence of the embassy staffs, that tells you the staffing process. You can link that easily to funding. And think about corruption. Think about what we call quote and unquote federal character, but then political appointees and career diplomats. And that's the main problem we found from this, and what the responses we got from the survey gave to us was people find out that, or they feel based on their personal experience. We have imagery representations, we have video representations of what goes on at most of these embassies that we actually visited on our own. And it's more like funding is a major issue. Most times they don't get the funding. So the embassies and the consulates improvises. They just improvise and say, well, oh, you need this, this is how much you're going to pay. We know this is how you will pay officially. But then if you want expedited services, if you want this or that, this is how much extra you have to pay. And that's how it's what obtains all across, all over the world.
Right. I mean, you've come up with this report. It would be nice to hear from you what exactly your recommendations are. And I'm wondering whether, it's just a reflection. Those embassies and consulates, are they a reflection of what happens back home in Nigeria? What are your recommendations?
Primarily, the first on the list, we are in the report, we actually have 14 recommendations, but primarily the first and foremost is that the country should establish a kind of special trust fund for acquisition, equipment, maintenance of the Nigerian embassies and consulates. We don't really have that many. We have 94 embassies and consulates and 4 other, high commissions and stuffs. But with at least 20% of revenues generated from consular services domiciled in that special trust fund, we strongly believe that will help the embassies to manage their expenses and running the different embassies and consulates. We also believe, as the NASCAPON also said last week, we also believe that, and it's also recommended that there should be an increment in budgetary allocation towards acquisition of befitting embassies and consulates. Our embassies abroad most are dilapidated, so to speak, and you can't use washroom. The receiving area is below par. And we are also advocating for the removal of quota system in the employment of embassy and consulate staff employment. Because when we really go for competence above and beyond where you come from, it helps us to just showcase that Nigerianness, so to speak, in us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, this is not a new issue, because if you cast your mind back to 2019, about 4 Nigerian embassies were shut by the government because of cash and other reasons. And I do know that recently, even the Secretary to the Government of the Federation did actually commission a 13-man presidential committee to look, at the issues with regards to our high commissions and embassies abroad. But at the end of the day, we need to find out. Some are suggesting that we can get one ambassador be in charge of a region, for instance. Let's say here in West Africa, you could pick out a couple of countries close to each other, close proximity, and have them be in charge without necessarily having embassies there. Do you think that is a solution? And also this recommendation that you have given, what next? Are you planning to submit it to the government, or what do you plan to do with this report at the end of the day?
Thank you very much for that. One of the very good things that happened at the presentation of our report in Abuja was that there was actually a representative of the secretary to the federal government at that presentation. We are also taking it further to engage even the embassies everywhere in the US, across Europe, Netherlands, Belgium, Italy, Spain, Switzerland, the UK, South Africa, where we have Australia, Japan, where we have chapters. We are in the process of taking it to the next level, working directly with these embassies to say, these are things we believe we can do together. We can work with you to improve the services you provide to Nigerians in the diaspora. But above and beyond all of that, the most, we believe that, and I speak for my organization in this regards, we believe that the most important thing is the commitment to the Nigerian, first and foremost. It's almost more like whatever you get from us at the embassy or the consulate, it's like a favor when you are there representing me. And that's just it.
Well, the point is, embassies are a reflection of the home country, and what else can one really add to that? You say that you had a representative of the SGF, the Secretary of the Government of the Federation, at that meeting that you had. Has there been any response from the federal government yet about your concerns and your findings at these embassies and consulates? And maybe you want to tell us some of the embassies or consulates that you really found in very deplorable condition.
Okay, so to your first question, no, we have not gotten any direct. I will not say we have any direct contact or invitation, but we do know that there's a committee that the federal government set up to look into the finances of the embassies and all of that. And we, on our own, because we believe that where the community needs a hand, the pirates shall be the first. So we are making efforts already to make contact with them and say, well, we did this, and these are our findings. To your second question with regards to which embassy, I will plead, I'm just going to plead the fifth here. I'll just say most of our embassies are in deplorable conditions. And I give it to some of the the staff at the embassies. Some of them do go beyond and above the call of duty. They try to be nice. They try to be responsive and pay attention to the pains of Nigerians. But you always get them at the end of the day throwing up their hands in the air. I can't do more than this. It's just what we have to deal with. And that also brings pain to the Nigerian, seeing that there's another Nigerian here who is working at the embassy, wanting to help me get whatever I want to do, but being kind of handicapped by the system, corruption, so to speak.
Right. Well, I think as I said earlier, sometimes it seems like we're taking what happens here at home abroad. Well, we'll have to say thank you so much to you, S.A. Folami. He is, of course, the coordinator for research for the National Association of Sea Dogs. Many thanks for joining us, and of course, thank you for that report, which hopefully will be put to good use.
Will make a difference.